Welcome back. It's over. No Embiid, no problem for the 76ers who sweep the Nets. That is 10 straight playoff losses for Brooklyn. I had to do this math in my head. I'm thinking like, all right, you lost 6 and 7 in the Bucks series, 4 last year, 4 this year. So 10 straight playoff losses for the Brooklyn Nets. Been a long time, and it's embarrassing, and I would say this because like last year you're thinking like, oh, it can't get any worse than this. Like last year was like, oh, the vaccine stuff and guys getting hurt, and you're thinking like, there's no way it gets worse than this. This is rock bottom. And then of course the Nets somehow go even below rock bottom, and that's what we saw this year. I mean, some of it was out of their control. You know, I know with Durant getting hurt against the Heat in January, that's out of their control. But the other things with Kyrie's contract and stuff, that was very much in your control. And, you know, Joe Tsai wanted this, and he got what he wanted, and it resulted in another sweep. So anyway, this was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing game. 88 points. Cam Thomas does not play a minute. Patty Mills plays over Cam Thomas. Joe Harris plays over Cam Thomas. And the guys that deserve minutes, like Cam Thomas and Edmund Sumner even, don't see the floor. But guys like Patty Mills and Joe Harris, who do nothing for you, they get to see the floor. So Mills came in, gave you 0 of 2 from 3, gave you a bad defender, and did nothing. Joe Harris came in. He made 1 layup, so good for Joe. He played 13 minutes, by the way. Jeez. 0 of 4 from 3. All great looks once again. He made 2 free throws. Okay, 4 points. And, of course, Joe Harris, at this point in his career, not a good defender. So somehow, some way, those guys who offer you just about nothing, whether it's offensively or defensively, especially in the playoffs offensively for Joe, who is a shell of himself in the playoffs, somehow those guys play over Cam Thomas, who I would say is probably this team's best natural scorer and doesn't play a single minute in a game where your team scores 88 points. There was a 6-minute stretch, I believe, in the third quarter, probably from like 9 minutes to like 3 minutes, where they didn't score a single point. And you have Cam Thomas sitting on the bench. And as I said last podcast, a guy who scored 40 points in 4 separate games. But hey, Jacque Vaughn is extended through 2026 and 2027. You'll love to see it. I'm trying not to go insane while talking about this team, but it just feels like it's a joke at this point. I don't know. Anyway, so go over some of the individuals in this game. Finney Smith was 2 of 5 from 3, 3 of 7, gave us 8 points. Cam Johnson, not his best game, probably his worst game of the series, honestly. And I would say the Nets probably played their worst game of the series today. I mean, game 1 was bad too, but I feel like they had some better moments in that game. I mean, this was one the Nets should have closed out, obviously, but once the third quarter happened and Philly outscored them 26-15. I mean, how do you score 15 points in a quarter? I don't get it. Like, that's ridiculous. Anyway, you kind of knew it was over at that point. And they got outscored in the fourth quarter, 30-25. So they went out very sad, as the title says. So yeah, Cam Johnson was not great. 1 of 6 from 3, 4 of 13 overall. Did have 10 rebounds. That was good. Mikal Bridges was not good. Just not good at all. I think he ran out of gas, honestly, and he's probably never been asked to do this much for a team in a playoff series, obviously. But he was not that. I mean, 6 of 18. It's not like horrendous, but still. 2 of 6 from 3. I mean, I just feel like he was not a positive in the fourth quarter. He was making some bad plays, not great on defense, missing some shots he usually makes. I mean, I think he just ran out of gas, but still. Nick Claxton was 8 of 10, gave us 19 points, 12 rebounds. I mean, that was good. I think Claxton was excellent in the first half and kind of went away in the second half. Kind of got outplayed by Paul Reed in the second half, I'm not going to lie. So that was disappointing. But yeah, Claxton had a really good first half. I think he had like 15 at half, and you're thinking, oh, this might be a 25-point Claxton game, and he somehow finishes with 19 points. Dinwiddie and Claxton converted on an alley-oop at the end of the game. I mean, it was over at that point, but hey, that was nice to see for like the first time, it felt like. Speaking of Dinwiddie, probably his best game of the series, 7 of 13, 3 of 6 from 3. He had 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and 20 points. So yeah, not a bad game for Spencer. He did have 4 turnovers, but not bad compared to the rest of his series. Now, here's the problem. The Nets bench only had 13 points today. I mean, that's very ugly. Royce O'Neal, 25 minutes. He made 1 shot, 1 of 6 overall, 1 3-pointer went in for him. Joe Harris, we just went over him, 13 points, or 13 minutes. I wish it was 13 points. 13 minutes and had 4 points. Patty Mills gave you nothing. And Seth Curry came in and went 3 of 6. And once again, I don't know why Seth Curry was not playing in Game 3 over Joe Harris. And I really do feel if Seth Curry came in and had those looks that Joe Harris had in Game 3, the Nets probably win that game. But at this point, it's a moot point. Just looking at the Sixers. By the way, Joel Embiid didn't play. I think I mentioned that off the top. But Joel Embiid does not play. And you have guys like PJ Tucker, who is probably 37, 38 at this point. He's just out hustling everybody on this team. Tobias Harris was amazing the entire series. I have to be honest. He was consistent. He stepped up today, had 19 shots. Paul Reed, as I said, probably outplayed Claxton in the second half, had 15 rebounds, 10 points. Maxey, for his standards, had an off game, 6 of 20, but 16 points. He had his moments where he was taking over. This pisses me off too. James Harden came in here and played like crap. 4 of 18 shooting. And on 3-pointers, he was 2 of 5. So, I'm trying to think of what the math is. I think on 2-point shots, he was 2 for 13. I think it was 2 for 13 on 2-point shots, James Harden was. And they still win this game. And Harden had 17, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists. But 4 of 18, and you still lose this game by, almost double digits. So, just sad how that works. Who else? George's Niang came in, made a couple shots. Montrezl Harrell played 5 minutes. DeAnthony Melton was huge. I think the entire series he was really good. And Melton had 15 points today. He was 3 of 7 from 3, and it feels like every time he was left open for 3, he made this team pay. And it's not a surprise. He's a pretty good player. So definitely hats off to him and how the Sixers played. Once again, I don't think the Sixers played that well today. I think the Sixers had a couple games in this series where any Sixers fan that watched them the entire year will tell you, yeah, that was one of our worst games. And they still won these games, which is embarrassing. We'll go to team stats real quickly. Field goal wise, the Sixers made 3 more shots. They also had 11 more attempts, and I think they got out-rebounded. Yeah, there's no Joel Embiid, and you still get out-rebounded 54-38. That's embarrassing. How do you even allow that to happen? I know this Nets team does not have much size. It's Nick Claxton and then, nobody. Day'Ron Sharpe, but he hasn't played since probably Game 2 for a few minutes. But yeah, that was embarrassing. Anyway, 3-point shooting-wise, they both made the same amount of threes, but Philly was 9 of 24, and the Nets were 9 of 37. So they missed a lot more three-pointers than Philly did. Free throw-wise, Philly was a better percentage by a good amount once again, 93 to 68%. We went over rebounds, offensive rebounds. Philly had 10 more offensive rebounds. That's been the case the entire series. Assists was basically the same. Sixers had 4 more steals. Nets had 3 more blocks. I think Claxton had 4 blocks in this game, by the way. I forgot to mention that, but he had some really nice plays on Paul Reed in the first half. I don't know why that just turned on. ESPN has these ads all the time. But yeah, he had some really nice blocks in the first half. Nick Claxton. What else? Largest lead. The Nets had a 11-point lead at one point, and of course they just gave it away because that's what the Brooklyn Nets do. Yeah, Nick Claxton. I want to see. Nick Claxton had 4 blocks. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that. So, all right, where do we go from here? It's interesting. You have a couple guys who are free agents. Cam Johnson is restricted. You have Seth Curry, I believe, is a free agent as well. The Nets have, I'm trying to see, someone tweeted this. Bobby Marks tweeted out some of the resources the Nets have to rebuild this roster. You have a trade exception for $18 million. That can come in handy, of course. You can probably get a pretty good player for $18 million. 5 first-round picks, including unprotected from Phoenix and Dallas. This is not for this year. It's the upcoming draft assets. So you have picks from Phoenix and Dallas. That's going to help out. You have wings with trade value. He put Cam Thomas in here. I don't know if he's a wing, but Cam Thomas, Joe Harris, who his trade value's probably dropped even more after this. Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal. I think you can get something for Dorian Finney-Smith, but I will say his lack of shooting the ball well since being a net kind of dropped his value in a way, but he's on a great contract, so that might help out. Royce O'Neal, maybe a team out there wants his services. I could see it. Royce is Royce is decent. He's a sixth or seventh guy. I mean, he's fine, but not. He was asked to do too much for the Nets this year. I feel like draft picks this year they have number 21, number 22 via Phoenix, and number 52, which I don't even know where that pick is from, but a second round pick. So I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go. I mean, first off, is Sean Marks even the GM? I don't know. I think Sean Marks' contract is up, and honestly, I know Sean Marks did a really fantastic job rebuilding this Nets team when he first came here, and they had no assets and all that. But I think what's happened here the past 2.5 years or so, it's hard for me to really say that Sean Marks deserves to be back. I think that's kind of ridiculous. And I've always said, after the Harden trade, Sean Marks was a terrible GM. I don't know what happened to him and why he folded, but ever since the Nets went from fun team to championship expectations, like, Sean Marks kind of shit the bed. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like Joe Harris. When the lights are bright, he sucks. And when the lights got bright for Sean Marks, he sucked. I mean, Marks had some good moves in that time. I think trading for Bruce Brown was definitely big. I mean, I think that was before Harden, though, so I can't even say that. But the Nick Claxton extension, that was good. But even smaller things like bringing back Patty Mills over Bruce Brown, I mean, that was just so stupid. I mean, I understood it kind of because you were expecting Ben Simmons to play the same role that Bruce Brown played, and we were hoping better. But Ben Simmons was hurt, and apparently Ben Simmons needed more time to get healthy, and the Nets gave him like 4 or 5 months after his back surgery. And, he came back and just was not the same guy. So, yeah, Ben Simmons is another question. I don't know what happens with him. I believe Ben has 2 more years left on his contract. It's a big number. It's probably like somewhere in the high 30s, like $37-38 million the next couple years, and that's per year. So what do they do with Ben Simmons? I mean, I don't know what his trade value will be. Of course, the rumor is like, oh, maybe the Nets get Damian Lillard, and if that's the case, then to make salaries match, you have to put Ben Simmons in that trade. So, I kind of go back and forth on the Dame Lillard stuff. Lillard's going to be 33, I think, next year. He'll turn 33 in July. I don't know. It just depends how many draft picks they're asking for. Like, if the players we're giving up is only like Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas, who else? Like Finney Smith or something. Like, I can deal with that, from a player standpoint. But if they're asking for like more than 3 first-round picks, I think I'm out. Like, I don't want to trade the entire future for Damian Lillard, who hopefully has a couple more, good years in him, but I don't know. It's hard to bet on. I think the Nets have done this before where they trade for the veteran point guard and it doesn't work out. I mean, Darren Williams was, I think, 26 when we got him, but he fell off pretty quickly once he reached his 30s. We know about Harden not having the same explosiveness post hamstring issues. Who else? What other point guard was bad for the Nets? I can't even think of it right now. It feels like when Dinwiddie turned 30, ironically, he was terrible. I think Dinwiddie turned 30 like a couple weeks ago, and he comes out here and has a pretty bad series. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's been examples of Nets point guards who have just not lived up to expectations. So Lillard, he played 29 games last season. That's the concerning part, but I would say aside from that, he's been pretty durable. I mean, there was the shortened season in 2020 and 21, and he played 67 games. So yeah, I mean, look, he hasn't been that injury prone. He played 58 this year out of 82, but I think like 10 of those missed games were because the Blazers wanted to tank and they kind of made up an injury for him. So if the Blazers were contending, I do think Dame would have played in those games, and he might have played in like 68 rather than 58. So yeah, I don't know, I don't think he's that injury prone, but like when he's turning 33 and you have to give up probably multiple first round picks to get him, it's kind of concerning. So it's either you go in that direction, like you can go in the Dame Lillard direction, pair him up with Mikal Bridges and try to get another like borderline star player over here. And maybe at that point you have a good enough team to be in that second tier of the Eastern Conference where I think Philly is, and even like the Cavaliers, and maybe the Knicks are getting there too. If you get Lillard and like some other guy, like, let's say the trade is like Lillard and Nurkic, which I've seen that rumor. Lillard and Nurkic, you have Mikal Bridges, you trade for another like, guy who's like somewhere like a borderline all-star type player. I don't know, like a DeMar DeRozan type player. Not saying it's going to be him, but someone like that. Then like maybe your team's good enough to be like a 4 or 5 seed, and you kind of flirt with the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know. I feel like a lot has to go right. I think, I don't feel like waiting because I think as Nets fans, we've waited so long to have a good team, and we had a good team for like a year and a half, and then it was gone quickly. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to even want to go to like the full rebuild route. But that might be the smartest thing to do. I think maybe you do flip Mikal Bridges for 3 or 4 first-round picks, which apparently was the offer. I don't think the Nets will do that, but I think it's an interesting, it's definitely interesting. Like, I would consider it, but I don't think the Nets will actually do that. You have other trade assets once again. I mean, as I said, you can, trade Royce O'Neal, trade Dorian Finney-Smith. You can trade Nick Claxton. You could probably get at least 2 firsts for him. So, yeah, I mean, they can go the all-out rebuild and, do that. But once again, the Nets don't have their own picks. That's the problem. Like, that's the shitty part about this whole thing. Like, I've always said, I think I was saying this when KD requested the trade in the summer. I was saying, like, if the Nets had their own picks, I would just say blow it up now and restart. But the problem is that if the Nets are hypothetically like one of the worst teams in basketball next year, the Rockets get their pick. So it's not even worth sucking. Like, if you're the Nets, you might as well try to win because your first round picks belong to other teams, which is going to be Phoenix and Dallas. So I think Dallas is like 2029, so it's not even like in the near future. So there really is no reason for the Nets to blow it up right now. I mean, it's kind of tempting because this team is not going anywhere at the moment. But as I said, you might be like a move or 2 away. And I'm not saying like small moves. I'm saying like, Damian Lillard type moves. Dame plus another borderline all-star type player to having like a nice team that can kind of be on the same level as, once again, the Cavaliers or maybe the Sixers or something. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, we're getting too off topic, getting too off-season-ish, but we'll get to those videos in the off-season. So I'll probably take a break from Nets content for a bit. I probably will do a full season reaction in the next couple weeks because I like to do those at the end of the year. And that should be interesting because, once again, this year was freaking crazy with, Steve Nash was the coach to start the year, and Ben Simmons made his debut for Brooklyn, so it was a weird year. But anyway, we'll talk about all that. Hopefully, this is how I am. I know some fans, and I think I said this last year too when Boston swept us. When teams beat the Nets, I don't want them to win. That's just how I'm built as a fan. Like, if your team beats me in the playoffs, I don't want anything. I don't want any success for you. I think some fans have that mindset of, oh, well, if the Sixers go on to win the finals, then that makes the Nets look better or something. Like, I hate that. Like, you took what I wanted. I want you to lose. I'm preying on their downfall. And it sucks because I hate the Boston Celtics. Hate them. Like, they're like my least favorite team. So it's going to be a gross rooting experience for me, but I don't think the Sixers are on the Celtics level, and I hope they handle them in 4 or 5 games. So anyway, that'll do it. At least we don't have to worry about this crappy team anymore for a while. And hopefully this offseason, whether it's Sean Marks or some other GM, they figure it out. And, it's just, once again, the whole Jacque Vaughn thing this series annoys me. He was not good. He wasn't Steve Nash level. And, like, I'm thankful for that. At least our coach is not as bad as Steve Nash, but that's not saying much either. So I don't know. And he's extended through 2026, 2027. It's going to be a long time. And to see, like, coaches like Nick Nurse and who else I think someone else good got released too, or fired. I forget. But yeah, seeing like there's good. Oh, Ime Udoka's getting an interview with the Rockets, I think. And I know we passed on Udoka, but like that seems like a massive mistake now. And once again, I don't know the extent of what Ime Udoka did, but if all these teams are bringing him in, could it have been that bad? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll find out if he actually gets hired or not, or if it's just an interview. I don't know. But if I see Udoka go to another franchise and that team turns into like a contender, I'm going to be pissed. Like, it's just a typical Nets mistake. But anyway, yeah, that's going to do it. Go Celtics, I guess. It feels gross. But yeah, crappy season once again. Another sweep. 10 playoff losses in a row. We'll do a season recap in the coming weeks, probably a couple weeks from now anyway. The NFL draft's going to keep me busy, so I either get this out before the NFL draft or wait a couple weeks and let the dust settle and we go over it then. But either way, we'll do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for those who tuned in this season. It was a roller coaster as usual, but hopefully next year things are better somehow. We'll see. Talk to you guys next time.